Krishna devotees, welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam Stuti series. Today's shloka number 39 of Bhishma Dev's offerings from chapter 9, canto 1. Vijayratha kutumbha atatotre
Vijayarata Kutumba Atatotre
hritahaya rashmini taktriye kshaniye
Dhrita Ayarashmini Tachriye Kshaniye
bhagavatirate me mumoshoho
Bhagavati Ratirastu me Mumursho
Yammiha nirikshya hatagata swarupam.
Yammiya Niriksha Hathagatha Swarupam.
Word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vijaya,
Vijaya
Arjuna,
Arjuna
Ratha,
Ratha
Chariot,
Chariot
Kutumbe,
Kutumbe,
object of protection at all risk.
the object of protection at all risk.
Atatotre,
Atatotre,
with a whip in the right hand.
with a whip in the right hand.
Dhritahaya,
Dhrita
controlling the horses.
controlling the horses.
Rashmini,
Rashmini,
ropes.
ropes.
Tatriya,
Tat Shriya,
beautifully standing.
beautifully standing.
Ikshaniye,
Ikshaniye,
to look at.
to look at.
Bhagavati,
Bhagavati,
unto the personality of Godhead.
unto the personality of Godhead.
Ratihi astu,
Ratihi astu,
let my attraction be.
let my attraction be.
May,
May
my
my
mumurshuho,
mumurshu,
one who is about to die.
one who is about to die.
Yam,
Yam,
upon whom.
upon whom.
Iha,
Iha,
in this world.
in this world.
Nirikshya,
Niriksha,
by looking.
by looking.
Hataha,
Ataha,
those who died.
those who died.
Gataha,
Gataha,
attained.
attained.
Swarupam,
Swarupam,
original form.
original form.
Translation. At the moment of death,
At the moment of death,
let my ultimate attraction
let my ultimate attraction
be to Sri Krishna,
be to Sri Krishna,
personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead.
I concentrate my mind
I concentrate my mind
upon the chariot driver of Arjuna,
upon the chariot driver of Arjuna,
who stood with a whip in his right hand
who stood with a whip in his right hand
and a bridle rope in his left,
and a bridle rope in his left,
who was very careful
who was very careful
to give protection
to give protection
to Arjuna's chariot by all means.
to Arjuna's chariot by all means.
Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra
Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra
attained their original forms after death.
attained their original forms after death.
But writes in the purport, a pure devotee of the Lord constantly sees the presence of the Lord within himself because of being transcendently related by loving service. Such a pure devotee cannot forget the Lord for a moment. This is called trance. So Prabhupada is saying Bhishma is in Samadhi. How do you know he is in Samadhi? The last few shlokas we've heard him doing nothing but glorify the Lord. That means he's always thinking of the Lord. The mystic yogi tries to concentrate upon the super soul by controlling the senses from all other engagements, and thus he ultimately attains samadhi. A devotee more easily attains samadhi or trance by constantly remembering the Lord's personal feature along with his holy name, fame, pastimes, etc. Therefore, the concentration of the mystic yogi and that of the devotee are not on the same level. The concentration of the mystic is mechanical, whereas that of the pure devotee is natural, in pure love and spontaneous affection. So now you understand the difference between the meditation of the yogis and the meditation of the devotees. The meditation of the devotees is pure love. It is spontaneous affection for the Lord. If you go to chapter 7 of Canto 2, which talks about the scheduled incarnations of the Lord, and the incarnations of the Lord, the 22 of them are being spoken about one by one in sequence. And when the topic of Lord Krishna comes up, unlike the other incarnations where it is just one shloka for Lord Krishna, there is a quick summary of some of his major pastimes, especially in Vrindavan. You never hear that the Brajavasis ever sat alone by themselves, individually, meditating on the Lord. They were just occupied in very ordinary activities like taking care of the house, taking care of the cows, taking care of the babies, cooking, cleaning, very ordinary activities. But what is extraordinary about the Brajavasis is that they were all absorbed in thinking about Krishna all the time. Whatever work they were doing, they were thinking, when is Krishna coming back? When are we going to be able to serve him? Will we get an opportunity to serve him? You never hear that the Brajavasis sit alone and meditate for 2-3 hours, in any particular asana. That's why Prabhupada is saying here, the meditation of the devotees is very different. It's spontaneous, it comes from the heart, and it is full of affection for the Lord. Whereas the meditation of the yogis is mechanical. Why is it mechanical? Because they have to observe so many do's and don'ts. They sit in a certain place, in a certain position. Their posture has to be a certain way. So you can understand all of this is mechanical. Whereas for a devotee, we don't have to worry about posture. We have to just worry about our absorption in Krishna. So I just want to read the translation of one of the shlokas from chapter 7 to tell you what is the destination of the Brajavasis. So in shloka 31 of chapter 7 of second canto, Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nanda Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also, to the inhabitants of Vrindavana who were busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. So Shukadev Goswami, rather here Sutta Goswami, is telling the rishis, this is what happened to the Brajavasis. Do you hear anything extraordinary? Nothing. They were just busy working during the daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of their hard labor in the day. Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his God. So yes, Krishna is being glorified, but in the process, his devotees are also being glorified. So great are the Vrajavasis, they all achieved Golok Vrindavan. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, a devotee more easily attains samadhi or trance by constantly remembering the Lord's personal feature along with his holy name, fame, pastime, etc. Therefore, the concentration of the mystic yogi and that of the devotee are not on the same level. The concentration of the mystic is mechanical, whereas that of the pure devotee is natural in pure love and spontaneous affection. Bhishma Deva was a pure devotee. That is, he was an eternal associate of the Lord, just like the Pandavas were eternal associates of the Lord. Bhishma Deva was a pure devotee, and as a military marshal, he constantly remembered the battlefield feature of Lord as Pārtha-sārathi, the chariot driver of Arjuna. So in Vaikunta, there is one planet which has the lordship of Pārtha-sārathi. So I was actually searching the Veda base to see where all Prabhupada mentions Bhishma Deva. And in one letter to one of his disciples who asks him specifically, where did Bhishma Deva go when he left his body? And Prabhupada said, since Bhishma Deva was always meditating on the four-handed form of Narayana, he actually enters the Vaikunta planet where he is serving Pārtha-sārathi eternally. In the next shloka, which we will do next week, the 40th shloka, you will see that Bhishma Deva is glorifying the gopis. At the same time, you don't detect any tinge of envy or jealousy or any desire for Bhishma Deva to become one of the gopis or to have the rasa of the gopis. So you see, this is a perfect example of how Bhishma Deva was satisfied with whatever rasa that he was enjoying to serve the Lord. He was not aspiring to become a gopi or to have the madhurya rasa. But at the same time, he has a great deal of appreciation for the position of the gopis. So we should also take hints and lessons from this particular mood of Bhishma. We should not worry about what rasa are we in. Can we achieve the madhurya rasa? There was an interesting question that is always asked, no? Is bhakti inherent or inherited? Inherent means, is it always natural for you or is it inherited? That means, is it bestowed upon you? Actually, both are true. All of us are eternally parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But bhakti is also bestowed upon you by Guru and Krishna himself. So bhakti is both inherent, which means it comes naturally in the spiritual world. We've forgotten it here in the material world. And it is inherited. That means it is bestowed upon you. So Prabhupada writes, therefore the Lord's pastime as Pārtha-sārathi is also eternal. The pastimes of the Lord, beginning from his birth at the prison house of Kamsa, up to the Maushala Leela at the end, all move one after another in all the universes, just as the clock hand moves from one point to another. That means this Braja-leela pastimes are not unique just to our universe. The Lord is performing these pastimes in every single universe with clockwork precision. And in such pastimes, his associates like the Pandavas and Bhishma are constant eternal companions. Wherever the Lord goes, his eternal associates go with him, because if the Lord has to perform pastimes, he needs a crew. He needs a troop. So that means the Pandavas are appearing in other universes. The Bhishma Dev is appearing in other universes. Wherever the Lord is going, the associates will always follow him because they are his constant, eternal companions. So Bhishma Dev never forgot the beautiful feature of the Lord as Pārtha-sārathi, which even Arjuna could not see. How can Arjuna see? Because he's behind Krishna. Bhishma Dev was standing across from Krishna, or was on his chariot across from Krishna. So Bhishma Dev got the benediction that Arjuna did not, to see the Lord as Pārtha-sārathi. Arjuna was behind the beautiful Pārtha-sārathi, while Bhishma Deva was just in front of the Lord. As far as the military feature of the Lord is concerned, Bhishma Dev observed this with more relish than Arjuna. So this tells you that Bhishma Dev's rasa was different than Arjuna's rasa. So who was relishing the Lord as Pārtha-sārathi more? Bhishma Dev. All the soldiers and persons on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual form like the Lord after their death, because by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they were able to see him face to face on that occasion. So, Krishna is so kind because all of the soldiers were taking Krishna's darshan personally, whether they accepted him as a supreme personality of Godhead or not, whether they chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or not, the Lord gave them eternal destination of the spiritual world. That is because of the causeless mercy, which means they didn't do anything to attract it. I was listening to some podcast, where they talk about financial literacy and financial management. And this person running the podcast, he's a Christian, and every time they take in calls, where people call in and express their difficulties with finances, and he advises them what they should do, etc. And every time somebody calls in, then they ask him, how are you? He always says, better than I deserve. He's a very devout Christian. And in one of the podcasts, he was saying that we all have to remember that everything belongs to the Lord. And everything in our life is his property. We are just caretakers. I was quite surprised to hear this from a devout Christian, because I've never heard other pastors say this. He's not a pastor. He's not whoever is the head of the church who gives the sermons. But he was always greeting everybody with better than I deserve. This is causeless mercy. In the sense, somehow or the other, the Lord has picked me to do this service. He's a millionaire. He's a multi-millionaire, the person who's running the podcast. So he was always talking about how you should live within your means, how you should never get a loan to purchase something like a car, because the car depreciates in value the minute you purchase it. But your loan, you're paying with interest, even though the car's value keeps diminishing. So it's very interesting concepts on the financial platform, but he dovetails it with spirituality. So somebody who was very young called him, 16 years old. He was making $50,000 a month. For a 16-year-old to make $50,000 a month is quite astounding, shocking. And this young boy called him and said, my mother is very, very traditional Christian. And traditional, she believes in that you have to go to college, finish your degree, and do all of this. And he was saying, how do I tell my mother that I'm making $50,000 a month? I don't really need a degree. And he was telling him, see, the first thing he told him is, do you have a spiritual mentor that you can go to and talk about this? Because your mother will not believe you, and she will kind of, discourage you from continuing with, he was running some 3 different website businesses. just as a reseller on Amazon, etc. This youngster was making $50,000 a month, and he was not sure how to tell his mom, because if he spoke to his mom would say, quit your job and finish your college first. So he was saying, you need spiritual, you need very good spiritual grounding to know how to handle money. Then nobody can take advantage of you. That's the other fear. If you're making so much money, suddenly people will come and ask you for loans, help, etc. So whatever it is, as a devotee, we can dovetail everything in Krishna consciousness. You understand that if Krishna has given you a lot of wealth, that wealth actually belongs to Krishna, it does not belong to you. Therefore, it's your duty and responsibility to serve Krishna in a very responsible way. Not to ever think that the wealth is yours or anything is yours. So here Prabhupada is writing, all the soldiers and persons on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original spiritual form like the Lord after their death, because by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they were able to see him face to face on that occasion. The conditioned souls rotating in the evolutionary cycle from the aquatics up to the form of Brahma are all in the form of Maya, or the form obtained by one's own actions and awarded by material nature. The material forms of the conditioned souls are all foreign dresses. And when the conditioned soul becomes liberated from the clutches of material energy, he attains his original form. So the minute you become free from Maya, you will go back to the spiritual world. I was listening to His Holiness Prabhupada Swami Maharaj last night on his lecture on the Bhishma Stuti. And he says that Prabhupada once said that any devotee who's chanting the holy names of the Lord, at the end of this life, no matter what struggles they go through for the rest of their life in this, it is just like they are in deep slumber. But the minute they leave their body, they will go back to the spiritual world. That is the power of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So Maharaj was saying this is what Prabhupada said. So for the devotees, they should not worry. Just chant with your heart. Chant with love in your heart for Krishna. And at the end of this life, you will just wake up. And when you wake up, Prabhupada said, you will simply have your spiritual body and you would have gone back to the spiritual world. So the material forms of the conditioned souls are all foreign dresses. And when the conditioned soul becomes liberated from the clutches of material energy, he attains his original form. The impersonalist wants to attain the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord, but this is not at all congenial to the living sparks, parts and parcels of the Lord. In the sense, if you want to simply merge into the Brahman effulgence, then there's no service. You should just be anxiety-free, that's it. Therefore, the impersonalists again fall down and get material forms, which are all false to the spirit soul. A spiritual form like the Lord's, either two-handed or four-handed, is attained by the devotees of the Lord, either in the Vaikunthas or on the Goloka planet, according to the original nature of the soul, which means every soul has its original rasa for the Lord. You will just go back and enter either the Vaikuntha planets or the Goloka planet and resume your service. Because service is unlimited in the spiritual world. So you understand why we emphasize service here also. Because if you don't practice doing your services here, what are you going to do in the spiritual world? Because that is what you're going. You are going to go there because you're performing your service in a perfect manner for the pleasure of Krishna. This form, which is 10% spiritual, is the Swarupa of the living being. And all the living beings who participated on the battlefield of Kurukshetra on both sides attained their Swarupa as confirmed by Bhishma. So how do we know that all the souls that died on the battlefield went back to the spiritual world? Because Bhishma Dev has pronounced it in this shloka. So Lord Shri Krishna was not merciful only to the Pandavas. He was also merciful to the other parties because all of them attained the same result. Bhishma Dev wanted the same facility also. And that was his prayer to the Lord, Although his position as an associate of the Lord is assured in all circumstances, still a pure devotee always thinks, I don't deserve Krishna. The conclusion is that whoever dies looking on the personality of Godhead, within or without, which means if you're able to see the Lord with your eyes, or if you're able to remember the Lord with your mind, attains his Swarupa, which is the highest perfection of life. So, a slightly lengthy purport by Prabhupada, but you can understand that Bhishma Dev is petitioning the Lord that he should also be able to remember him. And since everybody else who has already died has attained their original forms, he's saying, my dear Lord, won't you be so kind enough to benedict me with the same, if I so deserve it?
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.